In the meantime, veteran filmmaker Tunde Kelani returns to the big screen after a 4-year hiatus with Cordelia, an emotionally charged drama that holds up a mirror to Nigeria's turbulent political past and ever-relevant present in a story charged by the theme of love and betrayal. Take a look.
The official Lagos screening of veteran filmmaker Tunde Kelani's Cordelia kicks off as fellow filmmakers, creatives and admirers of Kelani's legacy gather for an evening of storytelling at its finest.
What happened? Fire on the mountain!
Adapted from Nigerian writer Femi Osofison's short story, Cordelia is set against the backdrop of student protests and political unrest. The film follows a weary university professor who takes in an injured student, unaware that she's the daughter of a man behind a failed coup. As tensions rise, buried truths resurface, forcing him to confront his principles and his conscience.
You're telling me I cannot have the car because it is yours? That ancient locomotive?
Lower your voice. This is the key. You can go anywhere.
Returning to the director's chair after a 4-year break, Kelani shares the fresh creative approaches he took with Cordelia. He also reflects on the balance between honoring the literary source and crafting a story that works on screen.
For me, it's sort of a comeback film because I hadn't worked for the last 4 years. As a matter of fact, we started shooting Cordelia for about 4 years ago. And it's taking this long because this is just not an ordinary film. Because this film will define the final stage of my career. It's going to be the first one. And Cordelia came about, it's a beautiful, fantastic story written by Professor Femi Osofison. And I came across this small novel. So I went to meet him and say, how do you think of this story? And he says, I don't know, if you saw Mami, I don't know what you will feel. So he goes in and brings Mami. Then I read Mami, and at that time, Mami was more relevant than Cordelia. So I did Mami to celebrate the World Cup played on African soil. So, but in just about middle of 2021, I received visitors from University of Delaware. And what they wanted is James Anderson introduced what he called a project called Cultural Fusion. And what they wanted was for me to release one of my own movies for them. They will take away the music track, and then we will compose the music, and they will orchestrate it, score it, and play it. I said, so no, you are not going to use any of the previous. You are going to make another film. So it is Cordelia that we chose because Nigeria, or indeed Africa, we have a great literary asset. But what I've noticed is that perhaps the young generation are not reading at all. And so I start my own story from a literary material, well crafted, and then I'm able to apply sort of a cinematic language and turn it to something completely different.
This is Colonel Wanzi Peters. I announce the successful ousting of General Matthias Kalarima.
The cinema is hushed as the film's rich cinematography, haunting score, and riveting performances captivate the audience.
Most times when I see the scripts, any of the films I've done, when it comes to resonating with the movie or the character, I just always see us, because they say literature or literary works replicate the society, back to the society, and your ability to understand the society you live in, and also to know the current, like you say, current affairs. If you give this, for instance, Cordelia, we touched on coup, we touched on family, we touched on love. Like I always say, you have a spine story, and you also have, within the spine story, you have a strand story. So imagine your spine and your hands and your head, your legs, they're all attached to the spine. And what is the thematic preoccupation or expression of the work itself? We know there's coup going on. And how does it affect the individuals, which becomes a strand story, where you now find the professor trying so hard to save Cordelia, who happens to be the daughter of the head of the military personnel, and a fiancée to one of the soldiers who actually, the brothers planned the coup.
Remy was just a woman who lacked love some sort of way. At the same time, she was craving love and also wanted to give love. But I guess the situation that they were in at the time wasn't conducive for her to express herself the way she wanted to, and then that just made her bitter and angry. But with time, she got to appreciate her husband and, all the things that he was going through, and that's who Remy was. She's a beautiful woman, don't get me wrong, but she had her own demons that she needed to deal with.
As I was coming in, I met General Gowon's son. My father was in the military, he served with Gowon. So I am very military inclined. I didn't have to prepare, I just imported. When I was in primary school, when we used to wear costumes, I used to wear military uniform to school. Yeah, so I'm very, very prepared for all of that. And I've always enjoyed when it comes to military stories. I don't know why. I think I was military before I was born. You know what I mean? So it wasn't difficult. But what was most interesting is the fact that there was one beautiful harmony between the lecturer, William Benson, and my daughter, Omomi. There's been some intimacy.
A post-screening Q&A opens up an engaging dialogue between the audience, director, and cast. Conversations range from the challenges of literary adaptation to the film's nuanced use of symbolism.
Professor Adekunle was so harassed that at the end of the story, I think he had decided that he was going to part with the wife.
Cordelia is not just a film, it's a cultural dialogue that reaffirms Tunde Kelani's enduring legacy as one of Africa's most vital cinematic voices.
This is a war. No movie tonight.